Okay, hi everybody, and welcome to this week's Menopause Matters Live. I am just going to, no, that should be okay. Okay, let's get started. So today I want to take you through a client case study of a mineral test. Now, lots of you came to the masterclass earlier this week, and those that registered have had the recording of the masterclass. So if you registered and you haven't seen that, do look for the recording on, it'll be a link on your emails. But I know that, if you're thinking about joining me in Revitalize Your Menopause and you're kind of on the fence, not sure whether it's the right thing because you don't really understand perhaps what the mineral side of things, which is a big part of the program, entails, I thought it would be really helpful to show you what we do and how it works and why it's so effective. So kind of take you behind the scenes. So what I'm going to do is share my screen. And I am going to, first of all, it's probably easiest, let me think. Let's start with this, and hopefully you can see that. So what this is the first part of the test. Now, I've screenshot it because this is a client's test and I want to keep her anonymity. But I want to show you this first of all, and then I'm going to show you her retest. But what I want to do first of all is just talk you through this, what this means and what this tells me. So this client came to me. Let me just read what she had told me that was the problem. She told me that she had, she couldn't lose weight no matter what she did. She ate healthily. She was, controlling calories, all of those things. She was concerned that there was issues with her thyroid, but she had been told by the GP, she'd had blood tests and they told her everything was fine. She had lack of energy, so she was tired a lot of the time. She wasn't sleeping well. She had stopped doing HRT. She had been on it a long time. She'd been very nervous about coming off it, but she felt it was not serving her anymore. So she had decided to come off that. And she was also quite stressed. She had quite a lot of anxiety. She felt that she wasn't controlling or managing her stress very well. So to give you a little bit more background, actually, let's first talk about the test. So what can I see with this test? The first thing that I notice is this very high calcium level. Calcium's at 371. Now, we want it actually around in the 40s is optimal, and hers is up at 371. That's a very high, especially for a first test. And what that tells me, especially when we're also looking at the potassium being so low, is that this lady is going to be really struggling with her thyroid system. So I did suspect that she had suboptimal thyroid function. We did go on to test her thyroid panel. We did a blood test, full panel, not something that you'll get from the GP. And indeed, she did definitely have issues with converting her thyroid hormone to an active form so that she could actually utilize it. She had something raised called reverse T3, which puts the brakes on you actually being able to use your thyroid hormone in the cells. So all of that came out. But from this test, I could see that there was going to be an issue with her thyroid. Now, the second thing to notice is the magnesium. You can see here, the magnesium shows that she had a magnesium of 13.4. Now, we want magnesium to be sort of between 6 and 7, and so it was double what it should be. So you might think, oh, well, she must be supplementing magnesium. She's taking too much. She was supplementing magnesium, but she wasn't taking too much. The problem was that that magnesium was being pushed out, so she wasn't actually getting the benefit of the magnesium at all. She was wasting her money. She might as well have not been taking magnesium because she wasn't getting the effects of it. So what does that do? That actually impacts on lots of things. Magnesium's needed for over 600 different functions in the body, and one of them is to relax the body and help us to sleep. And so if you can't utilize that magnesium, then you're going to have problems. Her sodium was and her potassium were showing fairly low, but the ratio was not low, and I'll show you that afterwards. But the amount of sodium potassium that was showing up was too low. That was going to affect her adrenals and her thyroid. So, but also affect everything else, because you can't get things in and out of the cells without the right amount and the right balance of sodium and potassium. And then you'll notice that this lady had very high copper. Now, she had been on the pill for years before she'd had children, combined pill. She was on HRT as well, just before, for a few years before she came to me. And she wasn't filtering her water properly, and very likely had copper water pipes. In fact, she did have copper water pipes. So we don't know what was causing this high level. Usually something that high, either the body's pushing the copper out, or she's got an active contamination from something like HRT, or from a pill, or from copper water pipes. Whatever the case, this was going to be causing her problems. This was going to be contributing to her feeling anxious, stressed. It's a very excitatory mineral. It's a light metal as well, and it's really problematic. And I see this so much with women who are going through the menopause, especially when they've been on the pill or the copper coil when they are younger, or any time really. So we had to get that copper down, because I knew that was causing her problems. And that copper was also very likely pushing her potassium really low as well, as was the calcium. So we had to really do something about these first 4, 5 minerals, and actually zinc as well. So important. The first 4 are your macro minerals, and then these 2 are so important. And then we have phosphorus, which was okay. She could do a little bit better, but it was okay. But because it was so low against calcium, it was slowing down her metabolic speed. So she had a reduced metabolic speed. And that was going to also impact on her ability to lose weight, making her feel tired, sluggish. You know, nothing's working as it should. It's not at the right pace. And the other thing I'll notice, I'm not going to go into every single one because we'll be here too long. We haven't got time. Her selenium was very low. And selenium is a really important mineral for the conversion of T4 to T3, which is your thyroid hormone. And as I said earlier, when we did the thyroid panel, she had an issue with that conversion. So we needed to do something about that as well. And then finally, her cobalt rather, was off the chart high. That was very high. And that is indicating, when it's high like that, that there is liver stress, okay? That the liver is perhaps needs support to detoxify, that it is overburdened. It's an overburdened liver. So, and that made sense with her health questionnaire and the feedback that she gave me. So we had to do work to support her liver detox as well. And then finally, you'll see here her mercury. She had, so this is heavy metals, this pink box, and it shows lots of different ones, antimony, uranium, arsenic, beryllium, mercury, cadmium, lead, aluminium. Her mercury was high, and mercury displaces both selenium and zinc. And so in this case, the selenium was definitely being pushed out, or very likely being pushed out by that mercury. So we need to do something about the mercury. Now, mercury often comes from amalgam fillings. Lots of people have got amalgam fillings, the silver fillings, and that's one of the sources. Eating too much fish, so tuna, sushi is a big contributor. So if you're somebody who loves your sushi, then that's going to be a problem. So we needed to do something about that as well. Okay, let me just stop sharing. And then I'm going to share again. And this time I'm going to share her ratios. So here you can see her significant ratios. These are super important. I look at these before I look at the actual levels of the minerals because it's giving me an overall picture of where she's going to be at with her metabolic speed, her stress, her thyroid and her adrenals, and her blood sugar control. So a high calcium phosphorus was telling me that she had slow metabolic speed. Her sodium potassium looked okay, but it was a bit on the high side. And this was telling me that she was stressed. She was under stress, emotional stress. It could be physical stress. I have to then, determine that from what she tells me, but the body was feeling stressed. Her calcium potassium, as I said, very high. That's the thyroid ratio. That's telling me that there's suboptimal thyroid function. And then her zinc copper was very low because her copper was so high against zinc. So zinc is low against copper. And that is your hormonal ratio. And that's telling me that you have somebody who has this is going to be very estrogen dominant, which very much fit with the picture of the lady and the symptoms that she'd had throughout her life, including, heavy periods, fibroids, etc. And then her sodium to magnesium, that's your adrenal ratio. When it's low like this, it shows somebody whose adrenals are really quite overworked and perhaps not pumping out the amount of stress hormones that we like and we need. And that can impact on our energy, our ability to get going, our sleep, and lots more. And then her calcium magnesium is very high. That's your blood sugar ratio, showing me that her ability to control her blood sugar was impaired. Now, she did need to improve the balance of her carb intake with other things, but it wouldn't really, whether she did or not, this ratio makes it very difficult to control your blood sugar when it's this high. It's a propensity towards kind of blood sugar crashes, which she was also experiencing. Okay, so let me show you her retest. So on her first retest, this is what we found. Is that sharing properly? Yes. So her calcium started to come down, and this is great. It doesn't look like it's dropped a huge amount. It's really quite difficult sometimes with certain people to get that calcium to budge at all. And if there's a lot of calcium, often it goes up. So I was really pleased that that was coming down. Now, I'll tell you about her symptom improvements afterwards, but let me just talk you through what happened here. Her magnesium improved massively. So it was for 13.4. If you remember, it was too high. It was up here. And it's now coming down into range. Still a little way to go, but that means that she is now utilizing and getting the benefits of her magnesium again. Her sodium came down slightly, and so did her potassium. Not surprising because she is shifting calcium and she's shifting copper. And your sodium and potassium are going to get used up when the body is dealing with this rebalancing process. So often we'll see those two drop and then they will come up again. And then we have her copper, and her copper has started to come down. And the copper, it was 5.2 and it's now 4.7. And that means that it is going in the right direction. She is getting rid of that excess copper, which is great. I suspect there's quite a lot of copper there and it's going to take a while. Only time will tell. Her zinc came up, which is great, coming more into balance. We want it at this blue line in the middle, so it's very close, but we need to get that copper down in balance. Her phosphorus dropped slightly, again, quite common when we're doing rebalancing, but we want to get that up. We want to get it much closer to kind of the 16, 17 mark. And then her iron did go up a little bit. I'm not too worried about that. Iron, I don't take too much notice of on a first or second test unless it kind of shoots up or goes very low. So I was not worried about that. I think this is just a correction going on. Her manganese came up slightly, which is great because it's really important for blood glucose control and thyroid. Selenium came up slightly, but not enough. I want that up higher. So we've done more to try and get that moving. And look at that. Her cobalt came from, it halved, almost halved, 0.013 to 0.007, much improved. That means that the liver is starting to function much better. So I'm really pleased about that. Mercury is coming down. It takes a while with the heavy metals. You know, it's not a quick process. The mercury started to come down. That's a good sign. So all in all, really pleased with that. And then finally, her ratios. Oh, no. Let me just move that so you can see it. There we go. So her ratios improving. So her metabolic ratio, which is this one here, the calcium phosphorus has come down slightly, which is great. Things are speeding up. Her sodium potassium went up. I asked her, had she been more stressed? She said yes. So we then needed to do some more work on getting her to calm that whole stress response. So that's been a big focus for her this time. Her potassium rather, her thyroid ratio went up. Not surprising because the potassium was pushed down and the calcium didn't drop enough in line with it. Not too worried about that, but you know, that is an area of problem for her, which is the thyroid ratio. Zinc copper came up slightly because the copper came down and the zinc went up a little bit, which is great. Sodium magnesium went up a fair bit. It doesn't look a lot, but on the adrenal ratio, that's great. It's above 1 now, which we never want it below 1. But we've got to get it up here. We want to get it up to, you know, in the we want it around about 4, so it's got a way to go. Calcium magnesium did get worse. That's a blood sugar ratio. Partly, you know, she needed to focus more on the diet side of things, but also because the magnesium started to come down, but the calcium didn't come down in line with it. So again, this is an area we need to focus. And the iron copper ratio improved, which is a infection ratio. So let me tell you a little bit more about how she felt, because I think that's the really important thing. So what had she been doing? So yes, she was drinking tap water. So we got her to switch to a proper filter that gets rid of heavy metals and light metals like copper. She was drinking too much black coffee, so I got her to cut that right down. She was drinking alcohol 4 nights a week, so we really worked on that because I showed her that that was not helping the liver situation and her detox. She was really good with that and just got on with it. She also noticed that she was getting some reactions to drinking, especially wine, so she was happy to do that. She had some stomach gut health issues, which we did some work on. I haven't got time to cover that today. But that came up in her questionnaire as well. Her sugar handling was definitely showing as an issue. She was missing lots of vitamins and minerals. She needed some more omega-3 fats. Her health questionnaire really showed that she was struggling with her adrenals and her thyroid and so on. So let me get to, where are we? Yeah, so I asked her to really focus on her food, eating less carbs and more protein, because that's what she specifically needed. I asked her to stop fasting because she was already stressed and fasting. She was doing quite long overnight fasts, and that was definitely impacting her, you know, stress. I don't agree with people doing really long overnight fasts if they are struggling with energy. You know, if you're struggling with energy, struggling with a slow metabolism, don't do it. You're not doing yourself any favors. Yes, fast for 12 hours, but don't extend it to like 16, 18 hours. It's not a good idea. Very stressful for the body. I asked her to have more carbs, especially not more carbs, less carbs, especially at breakfast. She filtered her water. And then obviously all the supplements that we did, which was personalized exactly to what she needed, because I use a company where I can actually choose exactly what goes in it. And that's what we did. We focused on getting a lot more sodium and potassium into her diet as well. We did some work on her gut to help her with digestion because she was struggling with breaking things down. And yeah, so when we did her follow-up, she said that she was sleeping much better. She felt loads more energy. She just, yeah, everything was really improving. The thing that hadn't improved was the weight loss. And that's when we decided to run the thyroid panel to see whether that was a problem. And it was. And so now we are working on that. Yeah, and she keeps me updated. She shares with me updates on how she's feeling, and she just says she's going from strength to strength. She just feels so much better since we've done this. So yeah, that is it. So if you have watched the masterclass from what day was it? I did it on Tuesday, and you are interested in the Revitalize Your Menopause program, as I said on the class, the enrollment window, if you want to get the current price, because the prices are going up next week, and the discount on top, you need to book a call by Sunday, this Sunday, 24th of March. And for anyone who's watching this later, it's March 2024. So if you want to take advantage of that and have a chat with me about what that looks like and what the Revitalize Your Menopause program entails, drop me a message or comment and I will share that information with you. You know, this just gives you an idea of the kind of things that we do, and this is where we look at the mineral side of things, which is super, super important. The interpretation is what counts, and I'm advanced trained in the interpretation of this test ever since I ran it on myself back in March 22, and healed myself. I decided to throw myself all in with this because, quite honestly, I couldn't believe that this isn't what we were taught in you know, when I did my nutritional therapy course, my diploma, because it is absolutely crucial. It's foundational. And so I did lots of trainings and then advanced trainings. And I now actually mentor some people too with this test. So you've got to work with somebody who understands it, because as you could see, it's not something that you can just read the levels. If you try and make adjustments based on the levels, you're going to get yourself into all sorts of problems. So yeah, if you are interested in doing this, finding out what's going on with your body, how your body is reacting to stress, how your metabolism is working, you know, and everything else that it shows. And it shows, I mean, I've only just given you a small amount of what it shows. Then the way to do it is to join Revitalize Your Menopause. It's a program, it's 6 months. We get to do 2 tests in that time so we can retest, and we get to work on it, work alongside each other, and really work on getting your body where it needs to be, which is, you know, full of vitality and firing on all cylinders, metabolism revved up. So you're feeling good and you can enjoy life. And in terms of other menopause symptoms, does it help? Absolutely. Your hormones are based on minerals. Hormones cannot be produced without minerals. Minerals are the foundation, the spark plugs for everything. And so when we start to balance the minerals and get rid of heavy metals that we don't want, the body can start to do its job properly. And all it wants to do is keep you healthy. So it is by far and away the best place to start if you want to truly heal your body and get yourself back to health. All right, I shall leave it there for today. If anybody has any questions at all, please do let me know, and I shall speak to you soon. All right, take care. Bye for now.